Good morning. Welcome to the fourth installment of the Men's Ministry small group discussion on Creation Health. Again, today's Sunday, October 11th, 2015. We got a packed house and we want to discuss today's subtopic of activity. Activity where everyone benefits. Now again, Creation Health was created by Florida Hospital for the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Creation Health is the ability to live your life through God's 8 principles of whole health living. How does Creation Health work? Creation Health works, each letter of the Creation Health corresponds to one of the 8 universal principles of whole person health. Okay? So there's Creation Health, every letter in the word creation. C-R-E-A-T-I-O-N. Okay? So we have choice, we have rest, we have environment, which we talked about the first 2 installments. Today we're talking about activity, which is very important, putting your body in motion. Okay, as we go through, the rest of the subtopics on creation will be trust, interpersonal relationships, outlook, and of course, nutrition. Okay, the guys are out running about 4 miles right now as part of the introduction to creation. So we're going to get started. This is just a quick review of environment. So environment, what is your environment? Okay, quick review of environment. It's the external space outside of us, but it affects what happens within us. Okay, and all of our senses, whether it's sight, smell, sound, touch, and taste, are going to be influenced by the environment around us. Now, for instance, that environment right there, not so good. Okay, very cluttered, very disorganized. Workspace environment, not too good. Garage environment, if that's your garage, I'm sure when you walk in, your mood is affected. Now, for instance, here in the Dubai hotel suite, $51,000 will get you this suite. How do you feel when you see that picture? You know, wow, you know, feel a sense of awe. You don't have any stress unless you're paying for that $51,000 a night. You'll be happy to know that this one is double that. It's $110,000 a night. Somewhere in Sweden, this is the most expensive hotel suite in the world per night, $110,000. That's just the living area. There's 12 rooms and 12 bathrooms. So, hey, you got a big family, you got that much money, you can do that. But guess what? Right there, nice, clean, very well put together environment. Not for $110,000, but for $60, you can get that hotel suite at Motel 6. Toxic environment syndrome is something we need to discuss. If your environment is causing you to have physical problems, if your internal environment, which is inside of you, is causing you to have some symptoms of distress, symptoms of illness, you may be suffering from a toxic environment syndrome. Toxic environment syndrome really is a bunch of symptoms, a cluster of symptoms that's a result of your external environment or your internal environment. For instance, if your house looks like this, okay, you're going to have some symptoms of toxic environment syndrome. That's basically a hoarder. Again, another picture of hoarders, okay? And yet another picture of hoarders, but this time, not only do they have so much stuff everywhere, they have animals. And what happens when you have that kind of environment, it could create a cluster of symptoms. It's going to cause you to have some cardiorespiratory illness, physical ailments, mental fatigue, and so you don't want to be in that environment. Again, mold, that's a problem if that's how you're living. And parasites, again, you have those cats, you could have parasites. That is a toxic environment that you don't want to be in. Now that's external. Internal, if you have stress, you have undue stress that you are not allowing to get out of you. You have anger issues, anger inside of you that is you're not allowing to get outside of you. If you have guilt, if you have regret, all those things are creating an internal environment that is not conducive to having some peace in your life. In Jeremiah 2:7 says, I brought you into a fertile land to eat its fruit and rich produce. But you came and defiled my land, made my inheritance detestable. Again, God created this wonderful planet of ours, this wonderful creation. You have the responsibility to take care of it, to take care of yourself internally, take care of your external world. Going back to the environment, how do you clean up your physical environment? Big thing is to declutter your life. Okay? See the before and after. That's your playroom before, playroom after. Helping you to declutter your life. Decluttering your living room. Decluttering your bedroom. Decluttering your garage. Decluttering the way you live. Numbers 35, verse 34 says, you shall not defile the land in which you live, in the midst of it which I dwell. Again, you are not just living in this type of environment. God is with you. Emmanuel, God is with us. So, if you have God living in your house, are you going to have your house looking like the picture on the right or the picture on the left? You know, something to think about. It says here, in the midst of which I dwell, for the Lord dwell in the midst of the people of Israel. So, it's a great verse to kind of think about when you're trying to declutter your environment in the external environment. Ways to declutter are very, very, very simple. You want to try to create a clutter-free zone. Clutter is a very big word. It's very easy to have clutter in your life because you will easily kind of draw down your expectation, or draw down, make your living environment less and less conducive to peace. So for instance, you'll say, hey, there's a piece of paper on the floor, pick it up. 3 days later, there's a piece of paper on the floor, I don't pick it up. A week later, there's a pile of paper on the floor, I don't pick it up. Then there's a whole room full of paper, then it's a whole house full of paper. Once you start to draw down or start to eliminate your level of expectation of how you want to live, if you want to draw down or make less of your responsibility to yourself and others, you know, what are you going to accept? You know what I mean? What is your standards that you're going to accept? Now, I'm OCD, so again, I'm very particular about how rooms look and picking up everything. You don't have to be to that extent, but again, what are your standards? You know what I mean? You have a beautiful house, very clean, but if there's a piece of paper or two on the floor, it's untidy, it's not clean. Or you don't clean your house ever, but your house is completely picked up and tidy, then the perception is, hey, you have a clean house. So what are your standards? The decluttering of your life is very important. So the no clutter zone, here's some ways. Quick, take 5 minutes. 5 minutes each day. Pick stuff up, put it away. Give one item away each day. Again, be charitable. You don't have or you don't need all the stuff that you have. So if you have a cluttered life, give stuff away. One thing a day. Fill a trash bag. Go into your closet. Anything you don't need, put in a garbage can, throw it out. Put out some clothes you don't wear. Again, rule of thumb, if you buy something new, take something old out that you haven't worn. Specifically, take something out that you haven't worn for a year. Put something in, take it out. Helps you declutter. Take the 12-12-12 challenge. Give 12 things away. Throw 12 things away. File 12 things where it's supposed to be. Quick. You can do it daily or weekly, but if you start, it'll help you to declutter your life. The 4-box method. 4-box method is basically, you know, when you're in management, you guys like file, toss, or keep. And in the 4-box method, you file, toss, keep, or give away. So you get 4 boxes, you get all the stuff that is in a cluttering situation, and put those in the specific boxes. And hey, if all else fails, take whatever you have, put it in your car, take it to charity. Don't stick it in the closet or in the side. Put it in your car, take it to charity. And last thing, if you have really good friends that you don't mind seeing all your junk, schedule a weekend where you can declutter your house or declutter your room, declutter your office. It'll help. And again, once you see how much more organized your life is, you'll definitely have a much better appreciation for how you're living, and you'll have much more peace. Now, talking about much more peace. Your internal environment is very important. You want to clean your emotional house. Cleaning your emotional house is basically, you want to look inside yourself. If you saw some of the things we saw there about clutter, about having anger, having regret, having guilt, not being happy with your life, look inside yourself, clean those things out. Instead of like the stress that you have, find some relaxation. Do things that relax you to make you feel better, make you feel relaxed, less stress in your life. If you have guilt, you want to find some love. You know what I mean? Love the person. Forget the guilt. Use love as the main weapon towards your guilt of anything. And you want to also use that love to help you to forgive. If you're having fights with your wife or whoever, forgive. And lastly, you want to be accepting. You're given so many blessings in your life, so many opportunities. God's giving you those. God's going to give you wisdom if you ask. God's going to give you success if you ask for the opportunity to show that you can be successful. He's not just going to give it to you. He's going to give you the opportunity. And you want to be thankful for all those things. And that's going to give you less of a stressful life, less fear, less regret, less guilt. And it'll help you to declutter your emotional house or your internal environment. Again, here in 1 John 2, 15 through 17, it says, "Do not love the world or the things of the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the desires of the flesh and the desires of the eyes and pride in possessions is not from the Father, but is from the world. The world is passing along with its desires, but whoever does the will of God abides forever." That is an amazing verse to just think about the things that happen in your life. This is a temporary situation, temporary world, temporary body. You want everlasting life, and you want to leave those things behind. You want to pass through the narrow gate. Easy to go into the wide gate. You want to pass through the narrow gate, and by doing so, you have to let the things of this world go and use love, like I said, as your main weapon against the evil that comes to you and the things that happen in this evil, messed up world. That's just the way it is. Your internal environment, once you try to get some of those things out, you also want to reinforce it. Clean up the internal environment. Here are some different ways you can do that. You can display objects that give you good memories. You can surround yourself that brings you a feeling of peace, comfort, and joy. Pictures of family and friends, awards, honors, paintings full of color, sculptures, and get items around you that give you the spirit and drawing your soul closer to God. Again, the most important item I think that'll help you is this book right here, the most printed book in the history of history. It's called the Bible. And I told the class, the guys before, which they're still running, but they're learning about activity as we speak. By the time I get to activity, they'll probably filing in here. But this right here is probably the most important thing to help you draw closer to God, which is the Bible. And by doing so, the more you read about God, the more you want to read about Him, the more you learn about Him, the more you want to learn about Him. It's not an accident that's the most printed book. It's not an accident that this book was created by God. It's Him. He's the Word. And so, if there's anything that'll help you to draw near to God, to give you the peace that you need to help declutter the internal environment, it's this book. And the first verse you need to read in this book is verse 1 of Genesis 1. It says, "In the beginning, God created." And just knowing that verse will remind you that, guess what? All this is God's. He is the creator. There's nothing that He can't do in your life. In the beginning, God created. That's the first verse that you need to read. And it's no joke and it's no accident. That's the first line in the book. Okay, Genesis 1, verse 1. In the beginning, God created. And after that, you can read through the book, and the second most important line, at least to me, is John 3:16, which is, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son for us, so that we may not perish, but have everlasting life." And you take those two together, and it just shows how much God loves you, how much you need to let things go, clear up your internal environment. Again, when everything falls apart, God's loving hands hold you together. And talking about holding you together, the power of touch. We talked about this, we actually spoke about this in church last week. So many studies that tell us that the power of touch is so important, you know, and that's one thing that'll help us to grow. You know, husbands who hug their wives actually live longer and have less heart problems. And in fact, if you want to just survive, you need at least 4 hugs a day. A hug is more than just a high five or a handshake. A hug is a term of endearment or a show of love, show of endearment to someone that you care about. 4 hugs a day in order to survive. 8 to maintain your present state, but 12 for personal growth and spiritual growth. So if you are not hugging your kids, they aren't growing. If you are not hugging your wife, she's not growing. If you're not receiving those hugs, you're not growing. So it's better to give than to receive. So you need to take the first step as a father to hug your kids, to hug your wife, to hug your friends, hug your loved ones, because that's the only way for them to grow as a person, grow spiritually, and it'll draw you closer to God, because, you know, God basically summed up his 10 commandments, you know, basically to love God above every other thing. Amen. Praise the Lord. Love God first. And the second is love others like you would love yourself. So if that's the case, hug everybody, you know, in this messed up world, because everybody needs 12 hugs. So that basically, this is God hugging you right there. That's basically the summarization of environment. Be in awe of your environment. You know, look at that. That's our environment. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful paradise on an island right there. Beautiful. Be in awe of what this world that God created for us. Be in awe. Look at Niagara Falls. Be in awe. It's an amazing. Look at Hawaii. Be in awe of it. You know. Hebrews 12 says, "Therefore, since we receive a kingdom which cannot be shaken, let us show gratitude, by which we may offer to God an acceptable service, reverence and awe, for our God is a consuming fire." Be in awe. Be in awe of your surrounding. Be in awe of what can your environment be like. See how nice that is, that nice house? Be in awe of your kids and your wife. Be in awe of them. Be in awe of their love. You know, and because God is all God's, you know. This is all God's, you know. And God's loving hands hold you up, because God is love, you know. So, again, that's just a quick overview of environment. We actually have the entire video about environment on the men's ministry blog. You go to New Community Men's Ministry blog. You know, if you have any questions, you can always find me. Or go to NCC, the website for New Community Church, and the blog is there. But all this in detail with the PowerPoints are on there, and in addition to this video. But today, we're talking about activity. So as the guys are continuing to run, there's still about, what time is it? Still about another, say, 45 minutes of their run. They're out there taking a nice long jog. Activity is very important. Activity is includes both mental and physical movement. If you just think that activity is you moving around, walking around, going from the couch to the kitchen, to the bathroom, bathroom to the bedroom, bedroom to the couch again, it's that activity, really. You know what I mean? That's not the only thing that's activity. It's physical activity and mental activity. Okay? The mind and the body are connected. And a fit mind promotes a fit body. A fit body promotes a fit mind. It's basically a very symbiotic relationship. Oops, I went too far back. That's okay, let's go back here real quick. In other words, you'll get the best performance from your mind when you regularly exercise your body. You'll get more from your body if you regularly exercise your mind. Okay? 1 Corinthians says, Or do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit within you, whom you have from God? You are not your own, for you were bought with a price. So glorify God in your body. Everything you do should be to glorify God. If you're putting toxic things in your body, that is not glorifying God. If you're not building the strength within your body, that's not glorifying God. You're built by Him to praise Him. You can't do that unless you are a strong body and a strong mind. Okay, what is activity? Let's keep on going. What's more important between the two? Okay, let's ask each other this. Is it physical activity or mental activity? I know that a lot of people would say, well, hey, listen, if you don't have a strong body, then you can't do the things that need to get done, which is considered work. It's true. Mental activity, though, if you don't know how to do the work, then how can your body do the work? You know, so what is more important? You know, it's a very interesting dilemma to think about. And the answer may lie in this little bit of a case study. Basically, it's called The Tale of Two Giants. And there are two giants that we're going to talk about. There are two giants that were always at odds with each other. They were such at odds with each other that they would continually fight together. And these two giants are within every individual person. So they take these two giants, they're in a cave, and it's a dark cave, and they're trying to figure a way to get out. Okay? They were fighting, they got into the cave, and the cave rocks collapsed. So, first giant was the strong giant. He had strength, he was able to lift whatever you need to get lifted, take everything apart. He was so strong, and he was able to move certain rocks in the cave. So he can move any rock. But his problem was he didn't know which way to go. Okay? He wasn't smart enough to figure out, okay, let me find an exit, and then I'll move those rocks, get out. The other giant was the smart giant, and he knew which way to go, but he was not able to move the rocks out of the way. So you got one guy, he could move the rocks to get them out of the cave. The other guy knew how to get out, but he couldn't move the rocks. So if they did not work together, then they would basically be stuck in the cave and die, because this guy can move all the rocks, but he may be moving rocks in the wrong direction. And if he did that, all he would do is go deeper and deeper in the cave. This guy, he knew which way to go, but he couldn't physically move any of the rocks. So that dilemma is within all of us. You know you have work to do. You know you have to strengthen yourself. You know you are have the ability to do all these things. But are you smart enough? Do you have the wisdom to do it? That's the dilemma. So you're also a strong giant and you're also a smart giant. But whether you put both of them together in the way God created to be mentally strong and physically strong, that's up to you. And that's a choice you have to make. You know? And how you're going to do it. Activity is a lot of different things. We talked about mental activity versus physical. We're going to break it down first. Aerobic activity is one of the types of activities you need to utilize in order to strengthen your body. Aerobic activity, again, when you talk about physical, aerobic activity and non-aerobic activity. And there's a lot of different ways you can explain it, but very simply, aerobic activity is going to tax your heart and your respiratory system. It's going to make you breathe harder, okay? It's going to make your heart beat faster, okay? And what's it going to do? It's going to make you breathe harder and your heart beat faster. So, man, those things are pretty fast. Let's go back here again. It's quick. There you go. So, there's your heart. You're going to make it beat faster, and you want to breathe harder. Your lungs are going to basically expand and contract. And that's what aerobic activity will do. But when it does that, it's going to strengthen your cardiovascular system. It's going to improve the oxygen that you take in. It's called oxygen utilization. But most importantly, it's going to give you the ability to work at a greater level or function at greater levels of intensity. Now, if you've never run a mile before, do you think you could? If you've never run a mile before, say, hey, go run a mile. Do you think you could run the mile without stopping? Do you think you'll be able to do that without gasping for air or your heart beating faster? Most people cannot. There are a few people that could, but for the most part, a lot of people can't do that, you know, because that's something that they're not training for, or they're not conditioning their body for. Okay, they're not conditioning their heart to regulate at a certain level, and they're not conditioning their lungs to absorb the oxygen so that they can do it. So, like this, Mount Everest. You think you could climb that without any training? I don't think so. You know, in fact, there's a lot of people who have died on this mountain and never trained, and that's a result. But you got to look at aerobic activity as strengthening the engine of your body. Okay, the engine, the components of the engine. If you have a beautiful car, okay, and the engine doesn't work, what good is it if your car looks great and doesn't have any dents and it's polished and clean? What good is it if the engine doesn't work? You can't use the car. So you want to think about aerobic activity strengthening the engine. Okay? Types of aerobic activity include walking, jogging, swimming, bicycling, racket sports, as well as team sports. So again, you can walk. Walking is the most simple form of aerobic activity, especially if you take it to a level, what's called brisk walking, not leisurely walking. This is not, you know, walking from, you know, your car to the front door. This is like, you know, not walking from in the mall, just kind of chilling, drinking your Starbucks, you know, or Coke. No, this is brisk walking, walking with a purpose, walking at a sort of level pace, okay? Walking, jogging, okay? Running, getting your feet up in the air, swimming, again, bicycling, racket sports, or team sports. Those kind of things will A, increase your heartbeat, and B, make you breathe harder. And by doing so, if you do that on a continuous basis, consistent basis, you're going to be able to improve your cardiorespiratory system. Now, we have a bunch of different secrets. I mean, I could go on activity for days, because that's what I do for a living. But for days and months and years, I could go over activity. But I'm going to give you some secrets, okay? So just remember, aerobic activity, okay? It has to be a type of activity that's going to increase your heart and make you breathe harder. And that is the only way that's going to push you to greater levels of intensity, okay? So if you can run a mile, great. Run a mile a little faster. If you can run a mile, then run 2. Whatever is going to help you to improve and help you do greater levels of work is going to help you build your body, build the engine. So here's some secrets, quick secrets, okay? Secrets of aerobic activity. These are perfect for the person who has no idea what the heck they're doing, that needs some structure in aerobic activity, okay? So first thing, just remember this. The Surgeon General, okay, I think he's still around, okay? He's still around, but he recommends at least 150 minutes of exercise per week, or 30 minutes per day. 30 minutes. Okay, we have 24 hours in every day. He just wants us to do 30 minutes. Okay? 30 minutes of brisk walking, 30 minutes of bicycling, 30 minutes of playing some sports. Whatever you like to do in order to get your aerobic activity up, 30 minutes a day. Okay? That's like watching one show of Friends, one show of 60 minutes. I mean, 30 minutes. Are you kidding me? Okay? A day. You can make that happen. But it's up to you, you know? And the only way for you to make that happen, okay, is you got to make it a priority, okay? You got to make exercise a priority. And you want to surround whatever you do for work around it. Make it an appointment in your appointment book. Make it the first thing you do in the morning. Make it something that you need to do in order to complete your day. Whether you do it at the end of the day after work or the beginning of work or in between, make it a priority. You cannot achieve 30 minutes a day or 150 minutes a week if you don't make it a priority. You know, what you put time in is what's important to you. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't make enough time for